On the 16th of September 1952, in the glamorous location of Morecambe, a seaside town in Lancashire, which really shot to fame a few years later, all thanks to it being the main setting for the Laurence Olivier movie The Entertainer, a strange meeting occurred between a huge Hollywood star and a British royal favourite. As ever, let me explain. Morning, how are you? Nice to see you today, and as ever, thank you for giving up your time to join me. It's nice to have your company. I love to bring these stories to you, because, as I say, it's a wonderful game show business in many respects, but it's all about chance meetings and how things can be put together and lost in the drop of a hat. When you think about a lot of the pairings, they came accidentally, simply because people thought they could make money on them, and of course, agents thought they could make money, movie studios, record companies. Eventually, it's not necessarily about the talent, it's always about whether somebody can make a fast buck. Now, when you think about these two particular stars, they were literally at opposite ends of the world, quite literally. Cesar Romero was, for me, always and will be the Joker in Batman, a role that he played from 1966 right through to 1968. And did you know he refused to shave off the infamous moustache that he had? So they literally had to paint him over with the white chalk face paint that we all now love and admire. The other person was a man that I never sadly met, but I thought he was a huge talent, none other than the ukulele playing George Formby. As I told you on previous videos, a huge favourite with none other than our late and wonderful monarch Queen Elizabeth II. She loved George Formby. Now, the situation was simply this. On the 16th of September 1952, as I say, up in Morecambe in Lancashire, they were undertaking their annual beauty contest. This was, well, it was one of those things that was shown. This was one of those things that happened up and down the country at all those beautiful and much missed seaside resorts, where young girls could enter a competition without fear and come away with a cash prize, and more importantly, the opportunity to meet a real life Hollywood star in the shape of Cesar Romero. Now, he'd been booked, quite frankly, because it was a money paid gig, and they decided they wanted a bit of Hollywood glamour at their event. Cesar, you see, was in town in London to make The Lady in the Fog, otherwise known as Scotland Yard in the United States. It was a sort of thriller noir type thing that he hoped would kickstart his career in a different direction. George Formby was also on the panel of judges alongside his formidable wife, Beryl. She insisted on being a part of the judges. I'll leave that one there. But what's interesting to note is simply this. The two formed an incredible funny bond only on that afternoon, so much so that both needed each other. Cesar Romero thought, of course, well, absolutely, that George Formby was a huge star over here in the United Kingdom, and he wouldn't mind more of that. George Formby's eagle-eyed manager, his wife Beryl, thought teaming up with Cesar Romero in a movie might re-kick-start George's film career, which had literally stalled at the end of the 40s with George in Civvy Street. You see how show business works now? Now, as I say, the two of them got on incredibly well, there's no two ways about it. Apparently Cesar just loved George's goofing around, and George no doubt played up to this particular thing. But what was interesting was both of them really wanted to be pictured for the very final picture with the winner of the beauty contest, a lady from 1952 called Doreen Dawn. I wonder if she's still out there today and remembers that. Fascinating when you think. But more importantly, upon leaving Morecambe and, disappearing, and of course Cesar going back to London to pick up his role alongside Lady in the Fog, they had hoped to meet back up in London. And I've been told that a meeting did take place. But sadly for both of them, they couldn't decide on a project that would fit. What the true story was really this, that no studio could see the, likeliness of George and Cesar working together. It just was a strange combination. While both, of course, remained very successful in their remaining years, including for my generation, Cesar popping up in things like Falcon Crest, and of course an episode of The Golden Girls in which he dated Sophia for a very short period. The idea of them becoming, say, the new sort of Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, which was the hope of George's wife Beryl, was simply a long way off. But for that afternoon on September the 16th up in Morecambe in Lancashire, they truly had the best of both. A British icon in George Formby, who regaled the crowds with a song after the event, and a real dashing touch of Hollywood glamour. And yes, they both then went off to the infamous Midland Hotel for a spot of tea before Caesar took the train back to London, hoping to once more hook up with George, and what they both thought was a very fruitful meeting on a chilly September afternoon. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.